Has the opposition just woken up after 10 years? And does the opposition have any concrete plan to make the government or hold them accountable? Or are they just waiting for something to happen and jump onto Twitter trends?
Well, it's a very good question. First, I would like to bring to your attention various parameters that were observed specifically with respect to civil aviation sector. So last year, the government came out with a detailed report that it plans to have more and more greenfield airports brought and investments in it, an Udan scheme and all. So lots of airports were being proposed and lots of investments were being invited. And the government started claiming that the civil aviation sector is going to have an unprecedented compounded annual growth rate. All this is said and done. But what we realize is the government, in order to project its achievements and showcase the new projects that it is implementing, compromised heavily upon the maintenance and the upkeeping of the existing airports as well as the quality and standards mechanism. The Airport Authority of India, which is the agency that looks into the functioning of the airports as well as their upkeeping, has failed miserably when one after the other, three airports had a severe infrastructural collapse. Now, this shows that this was either because there was no set mechanism for annual audit of the infrastructure upkeep, or there were some form of serious lapses that occurred either due to negligence on these certain sectors or due to paucity of funds. Now, this is where we need to hold the government accountable. Is it that the government is repeating the same mistake of coming out with its awe and splendor and trying to project its achievement by quantity and completely neglecting the quality and standards? Or is it that we are going to simply put the blame on it was a natural disaster and the government is not to be held responsible and the government would be taking up measures so that this should not get repeated? The idea is the government has to wake up now. It has to stop its chest thumping and resort to upkeep and maintenance of whatever it is making from the taxpayers' money. Be it the highways, the Atal Setu, be it all forms of infrastructural projects, be it airports, the ports, all of them. If the government wants private sector involved in these infrastructural developments, it should have a robust regulatory mechanism holding these private sectors responsible and a indemnity clause as well in case of failures with respect to the compliance of the norms. We see there are tunnels that are collapsing in Uttarakhand, the lives of the workers, it is put at risk. We see airports, infrastructural. Now, this over here, they cannot put the lives of a common man and somebody who's working over there at risk at mere behest of those who are coming over here for profit making. So I would say the government should take this matter very, very seriously and come out with remedial measures. Yes,
The
please.
upkeep of older airports is still something we can talk about, but Jabalpur Airport, I believe, was inaugurated very, very recently. So we want answers as the countrymen of India. We want answers to what really happened, whether old or new airports. I'd also like to bring your attention, Mr. Pokharna, and you could take the next question from here. Aviation Minister has ordered safety audit for all airports. And is it abundance of caution, or as we can see, across the three cities, Delhi, Rajkot, as well as Jabalpur, there are compelling reasons for the new minister to order exercise and important instructions going forward. What's your view on that?
Aishwarya, let me be very candid on this. Governance should always be a non-partisan issue, and yes, if you are gravely pursued that such issues did not happen pre 2014, then you're gravely mistaken. So such issues used to happen before 2014, also after 2014. But the nub of the issues is people need to be held accountable and heads need to roll. And when it comes to the new minister, in bureaucracy, it is sweetly said that 6 months is a honeymoon period for any new government, whether it is party A or party B. But the government, the bureaucracy The departments needs to be very cautious. I mean, do you need a wake up call so much so that it needs to consume a few lives for the government to wake up? And for the very first time, I am reluctant to say, but yes, I somewhere concur with my younger brother Lokesh on this, that heads need to roll, government needs to be held accountable, and you don't need a loss of lives to wake up and smell the coffee. Over to you,
Right.
Ashway.
Right. Just before this chat, I was speaking to few of the airport authorities and trying to understand uh, who should be held accountable, which bodies. Is it the airport operators? Some of them actually said that the maintenance work is done by a third party as well. Sometimes it's also the airport operators themselves. So, Mr. Jindal, I would like your opinion on this. In terms of agencies and private operators, where does the accountability really lie, depending on who the airport operator is, who's responsible for the maintenance as well?
Yes, in fact, we need a thorough non-political interference if at all we are to uphold standards. Because especially with respect to certain agencies. For example, the company that was given the tender for building the tunnel. Now, that company had a very dark track record. It was not having a very transparent track record and upkeeping of credentials. It was marred with corruption issues before also. And that company was given tender. Now, such crony capitalists, when they are given tender, all they resort to is profit making and certain form of lowering of standards just to maximize their revenues. The government needs to understand it very, very clearly that such houses, such companies, they must be completely blacklisted and no way they must be brought to the fore where they can give effect to their ends. Only competitive bidding, high standards, a very substantial, robust regulatory mechanism, audits by the enforcement agencies, and a need for a high indemnity clause. Now, that is something where we are lagging. We saw even in the NEET case, the NEET test paper issue. Now, the government has woken up and it has come up with a high indemnity clause if at all such forms of discrepancy is found out. And even with respect to giving these projects, the government must ensure that if at all a company fails to deliver in this particular time period, there is any form of a mishap happening or any form of untoward incident, the company must be held liable so that it has to pay for all the losses that have incurred. Now, a person has lost his life. And we saw it also raises certain questions on India's credibility. But the
I would like to
company
interrupt
which
you there
was
and try to keep the topic towards airports as well. If you could give your perspective on the various bodies that are responsible for operations. Two big private companies, GMR as well as Adani, run airports in India. I want to understand from either one of you, if one of you could take the question. We have the Comptroller General of India doing audits for airports. So here, whose role was it to play in terms of holding up accountability and responsibility and audits of these airports?
If you're talking about the maintenance and upkeeping of airport, it becomes a completely different issue with respect to investments made either in the form of brownfield or greenfield. That is a separate issue altogether. So generally, we see that there are some form of subcontractor system and annual maintenance as well as upkeeping with the staff. Also, it gets rotated from company to company, and it is the Airport Authority of India, which is the regulatory body which looks into all the aspects, whether if it is outsourced to any private company. So over here, yes, the GMR is the company which had made the Delhi airport and which was responsible for all forms of operation of the airport. But we have various other agencies coming in and maintaining that airport. But you cannot hide away by putting the entire blame upon GMR. The Airport Authority of India has to take its own accountability, and the Minister of Civil Aviation has to be responsible for whatever has happened in the country.
All right, Mr. Pokharna, BJP has highlighted an incredible amount of infrastructure push as one of their greatest achievements in the past 10 years. And will these images of crumbling airport roofs haunt the BJP politically now? What's your view?
Uh, Aishwarya, I do agree with you. I concur with you when you say that the airports are in shoddy condition. But yes, I won't discard and discount the work that BJP has done with regards to the mammoth infrastructure push that India has witnessed in the past 11 years. Having said that, as I said, I completely maintain my position. And these are the technical nitty gritties wherein people like you and me cannot solve these intricacies of the government. Let me come to the airport issue once, since we are discussing that. Airport Authority of India has given away Airport A to a private player B. And then that private player who's in charge of that particular airport has given subcontracts to companies C and D. So technically, Authority of India, as I said, technically washes away its hands when it comes to any mishaps. And it will point to company B, and company B will point the responsibility and onus to subcontractors C and D. At the end of the day, as I said, if lives are lost, there is no accountability for that. And I strongly believe that CAG and Airport Authority of India have to form a joint body with a spine and with sense of accountability, because the visuals that are displaying on the screen are completely eerie. And I cannot imagine the condition of the family of the poor driver who has lost his life. So yes, at the end of the day, this is gonna haunt BJP for the coming, I mean, good amount of time. Even I don't have any time frame, but it is gonna haunt BJP, and I think it will surely haunt BJP till the coming elections. But again, this is not a political issue. It was the driver who lost his life. For God knows, it could be you, me, or any one of us. So this is airport is an issue which germans to many people, millions of people in India, and these are very scary images. Aishwarya.
Well, on this note, we'll slip into a short break and be back on the other side. Please stay tuned. We'll continue the conversation after break. News now with me, Aishwarya Patil, and I am joined by two experts, Mr. Lokesh Jindal, political analyst, as well as columnist, Mr. Yuvraj Pokharna. Gentlemen, let's continue the chat, and my intent here is to get questions as a not only as a passenger but as a fellow countryman of India. I think we left the chat with Mr. Pokharna. Mr. Jindal, uh, we want our travel to be democratized. I really wish, and I say this with complete disappointment, that people's lives here are cheaper than our flight tickets, which are not as affordable for many people. I would say that at this point. But talking about the rest of the infrastructure, airport infrastructure, do you think our airports need further investments in terms of maintenance and as you mentioned, third parties are also involved here. So instead of constant political criticism, should we actually focus on better investments, better maintenance, and support as well?
Yes, it's a very good question, Aishwarya. First, let's get our facts right. Now, Airport Authority of India, which is a statutory body, is bound. It is required to maintain airports as well. Now, it's a different issue if it is doing it on its own or it is outsourcing it. However, its accountability with respect to upkeeping and maintenance of airport cannot be done away with. Even if Airport Authority of India tomorrow gives contract to anybody, however, upkeeping of standards, safety, and other protocols are to be adhered to. Now, this is the primary accountability of Airport Authority of India. Second thing, yes, the question is whether Airport Authority of India has heavily derelicted its duty, or there were certain financial crunches, or fundamental flaws in policy making that led to inability of Airport Authority of India to function the way it is supposed to function. So this would require a thorough investigation, and I would agree with Yuvraj over here that this issue has to be taken beyond the political realms, and we have to get into the exact fundamental reason that led to this form of a calamity. See, the Airport Authority of India, it must, because every passenger, when he books a flight ticket, he pays the taxes to the airport authority. Now, whether outgoing passenger airlines delays the flight, whether the airport is unable to deliver the basic needs of that passenger, the safety and other aspects, whether there is some form of a clinical aid that is available in case a passenger is not feeling well, all these aspects are to be taken care of by the airport authority. And if it is lacking funds, they generally try to invite a lot of foreign investments so that in the name of in a public-private partnership and giving some form of a model of revenue sharing, there could be better upkeeping of standards of the airport. But in this pursuit of profit making, the private companies generally compromise upon the standards and the safety measures that it is supposed to upkeep. So we require over here a government that is not commercial in its outlook purely, but it is more inclined towards the governance issue. And this incident, Ashwarya, I see is a failure of governance altogether. And in the name of commercial growth and a name of boosting aviation sector, we have compromised upon the safety of passengers heavily. So yes, I would again say that
I
the
would like to bring to
approach
your
to this would
notice.
be just one
Sure.
point, Ashwarya. I would like to say that this issue must be dealt along with National Disaster Management Agency. It must look into what are the areas where such a disaster can be mitigated, and it must be the Airport Authority of India. A new set of guidelines must be issued to the Airport Authority of India so that the passengers, from the moment they enter the airport to the exit, every aspect is taken care of. And then a multi-pronged approach is something that is required. Now airports that are maintained by army, they are at such an excellent condition, you can actually make out whether an airport is administered by the civil aviation or it is maintained by the army. So that standards need to be upkeep. Thank you very much. Yes, please.
Right, I just want to bring your attention, both of you. Delhi International Airport is a joint venture again, which I'm reading out, and GMR has 64%, Airports Authority has 26%, and Fraport AG Frankfurt has about 10%. So it's a joint venture. Who do we hold accountable? As you mentioned, Airports Authority should be held accountable. But what about other bodies? One is that I just wanted to flag off, and the other is while I was trying to research and figure out uh, what are the various aspects that we can look at in terms of airport construction to airport maintenance. And of course, we're flagging off at the fact that this was the Delhi airport was first constructed in 2009. Who is the entity that constructed it? We don't know. I don't see it in the public domain, at least as of now. And I have asked a couple of others as well, airport players as well, but there's no word on it. L&T has given out their clarification that they only built the extension. Any word from the two of you and closing thoughts on this?
Going by Lokesh's logic, I think then GMR and UPA Congress government is to be held responsible for the Delhi T1 mishap. So that's why I started my comment with the point that let us be non-partisan about a civilian issue. So again, I am not here for the tutu mame debate, but the buck stops at who is going to be responsible. And I mean,
I didn't
yes,
mean to polarize
accountability.
it towards a certain entity. All I was trying to flag off was
No,
facts
no, it's not you.
and
It's not
who
about
built.
you. As
Yeah,
I
yeah.
said, going with the location's logic. If he says that this is the governance's failure, this is the failure of the current dispensation, then I think let us, flag UPA led by Congress for the 2008 built T1 airport is debacle. This is not where I want the bug to stop. We need a fair probe, and even I am of the opinion that there should be a JPC for this issue, and the JPC should investigate each and every infrastructure that concerns billions and trillions dollars of rupees and the lives of millions and millions of people, whether it is bridges, whether it is airports, whether it is tunnels. This is an issue that concerns health, lives, safety of millions. And last few seconds, when it comes to Indian airports, Aishwarya, I don't feel that finance and economics is the buzzword. I mean, I don't see any positive funds with the airport authority or with the concerned ministry. Well, let's be very objective about this. Airports are completely, I mean, the airports are completely deriding their customers. They don't have any accountability.
If you could
Even
answer it for me.
if I cite a recent example, my flight was delayed for 5 hours, and the airline and the airports
Right.
were not at all responsible.
Well, we're running short on
Customers,
time.
yeah.
One final question, if one of you could answer for me. Uh, Overall, as a citizen, uh, how do we ensure that this issue is addressed, and how do we get justice for all the things that have happened in the last 3 days?
A heavy indemnity clause, a heavy penalty has to be very high in case such forms of events occur, and a good compensation must be given to victims. That's the kind of I would say a form of a preempt. It's also it will also act as some form of a deterrent in case any company decides to compromise on these issues. Yes.
Gentlemen, for joining us on this chat, Yuvraj as well as Lokesh. Many thanks for joining us. Keep watching ET Now. Stay tuned.